So my guest today is Ken Coleman, America's career coach, the nationally syndicated radio host of the Ken Coleman Show, and #1 best-selling author of The Proximity Principle and his new book, From Paycheck to Purchase. Those do that again. From Paycheck to Purpose, which is terrific, folks. I've had a chance to read it. It will walk you through how to do that transition beautifully with great stories along the way. On the Ken Coleman Show, he offers expert advice to help thousands of people every day discover what they were meant to do and how to land their dream job. He's been featured in Forbes and appeared on Fox News and Fox Business Network and others. And of course, you can follow him on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and all of the socials. And by the way, a great website, kencoleman.com, with tremendous resources there. Ken, thanks for making time at this ungodly hour of the morning.
Jeff, it's great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So, little boy Ken, growing up, where did he want to be when he was growing up?
Well, the earliest answer to that was an NBA point guard. That was the early days. And then as I got into adolescence, I got serious about that answer. And I wanted to be the governor of Virginia, maybe a U.S. senator from Virginia. So those were the fun fantasy answer early on. And then as I moved up into the teenage years and began to really dream about, a future, it was certainly politics is where I wanted to be.
Interesting. And thus, how did that wind up being law? Because my understanding is you at one point were going for a law degree, went into business for yourself. How did all this start to take place for you?
Well, the context for it was I grew up in a home where history and politics were front and center. My dad's a big history buff. We didn't have a lot of money growing up. And so our vacations were presidents' homes and battlefields and, stuff that you could do for pretty cheap. You could pack a lunch. So I was eating bologna sandwiches, on dugout, cannon platforms and stone walls. And, that was the world I grew up in, was history and then certainly politics. And I had an encounter with Ronald Reagan in 1984. I was 10 years old and I'm sitting there playing with my G.I. Joes on the living room floor. My dad's watching the Republican National Convention. And this guy comes up and, I'm 10. So, TV's on and he begins to speak and I could tell my dad's pretty excited about it. He's like, "Hey boys, keep it down." And so I've got one ear on the television and the rest of my mind and ears are focused on, playing with my G.I. Joe guys, I guess. And I just began to pay attention to this guy and it captivated me as a 10-year-old. And so that began kind of this fascination, imagination around politics and speaking and serving people and doing good things for people. My dad was a pastor. So you've got history, you've got politics, and you got serving and loving on people. So that was the context which I grew up in. And, environment has a tremendous impact on people. And so that's the shortest way I can kind of tell you that's what kind of began to light a fire in me for the political path. I never wanted, I danced around with the idea of being a lawyer, but that was only because I thought I needed to be a lawyer to get into politics. And when I realized I didn't need to be a lawyer, I was like, well, forget that. Because I don't like studying and taking tests. I like coaching people and speaking and performing. And that was my jam. And so that's the early days. But I felt at 16, I was supposed to be in politics for my life. I thought I wanted to serve my country. I wanted to serve people, make their lives better. That was absolutely a clear theme, which is still there today. But that was very, very poignant for me at 16.
If memory serves me right, you did a variety of things or did a few things between then and to where you are now. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering whether, as you look back on it, you went through your own process or much of your process to get from where you were then to where you are today with the show and all the other things that you do.
Oh, there's no question about it. The book has 7 stages in it. Get clear, get qualified, get connected, get started, get promoted, get the dream job, give yourself away. Now, that's exactly what I did at the age of 32, 33, when I realized that politics wasn't the path, and I wasn't quite sure what the path was. That was discouraging. It was disillusion. It was a season of what? Because I'd been so on purpose and had great success in politics, and then moved into business to set myself up to run. So I'd been very, very ambitious, very, very successful, frankly. And then you get in this moment of uncertainty. Wait. I know my heart's telling me it's not politics, but what is it? And then trying to figure out what it is, and then dealing with all the fear and doubt and all the stuff I unpack in the book. So all that to say, the 7 stages as they are written today. First, I lived them, but I didn't know them as they are. Okay, that's 1. 2, before I ever wrote a book, I spent 2.5, 3 years trying to develop a clear path. And when I finally got breakthrough on how to say it as simply and as clearly as possible, they are now the 7 stages. And it came from me looking back on my journey, as you pointed out, and trying to summarize it. And I'll tell you how it happened so that people really get what's going on here, because I'm not a guy who coaches from opinion. I coach from experience. There's a big difference. So for 2 years, I'm trying to figure out I got to create a clear path, because, by the way, transformation in our money, our relationships, our health, when somebody is here and they're in one location and they want to be somewhere else in a much better situation, where there's a gap, there must be a clear path for people, or else it's too intimidating. They'll never do it. So if you're trying to coach people and guide people, if you don't give them a clear path, they'll never start on the path because it's too scary. So for 2 years, I'm struggling through this. And finally, I was on vacation about 2 years ago. And I got up early, told my wife, I said, excuse me. I said, hey, I'm going down to the beach with my moleskin and a pencil and a cup of coffee. I need to write. And I've been struggling with how to say it. And I had come up with multiple versions that no one will ever see. It just wasn't right. And so I go down and I put my chair, I got my chair under the umbrella, and I sat there, and I just remember saying to myself, I had my pencil in my hand ready to go, my moleskin open. And I remember saying, Ken, how would you describe the path to fulfilling purpose to a 17-year-old kid? And that was it. And I started to write, and it freed me up. And I just wrote, get clear. And I thought for a second, and I said, all right, once you're clear, you're going to get qualified. While you're getting qualified, you better be getting connected. You don't want to wait until you're qualified to start connecting. You got to get connected now. And then you're going to get the opportunity to get started. And it just flowed. And so, yes, it's a long-winded answer to say that, yeah, I looked back on my journey. It's starting at 33, a complete pivot in a very difficult industry of broadcasting. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. And that's how I did it.
You've got a great story in the book about the getting qualified part of your life, where you networked your way or connected your way into being at NASCAR.
That's a painful story, isn't it?
Everyone has that experience where they think they're ready and they aren't. And the gold in the story isn't that's what happened to you, is that you didn't quit.
Yeah, that's right.
So
yeah,
for those who don't know the story, if you can give the simplified version of it, that would be great.
Yeah, so I know it's broadcasting. I've gotten clear that the mountaintop for me is broadcasting. That's TV, that's radio, that's everything, right? And so in the broadcasting world, you got to have a demo, right? You're not going to get a job without a demo, right? And I don't know if that's still the case, but that was the case back then. You got to have a demo. You got to show people 2 to 3 minutes, maybe 60 seconds, somewhere in that range, that you actually have the chops to do it. Well, here's the problem. I didn't have a demo. I had never done any real broadcasting, certainly no television. So I'm hustling and I make a connection. And I've got a family friend who is a big time NASCAR reporter for NBC. He does me a favor, makes a phone call to Turner Sports in Atlanta where we lived. And he leans on a buddy of his who hosts a NASCAR show, a highlight show. And he says, hey, will you do me a solid and let Ken come in and do some highlights, one of your highlight packages. You guys roll cameras and give him the footage. And the guy's like, sure, I'll do it. So the host doesn't know me. He just, it's a mutual connection. So this guy's doing me a favor. He's got a whole crew. I show up and I didn't practice. I should have recorded some Sports Center highlights and practiced at home. I didn't. I just was like, I can do this. I speak well. Yeah, I love sports. I've seen highlights a million times. I can read a teleprompter. No big deal. So I get there. They're done with their show. And this guy stands up and goes, hey, this is Ken. He's going to do this highlight package. And we're going to record it for him and give it to him. And he's like, Ken, come on up. And there was no like, here's how you do it. Like, it was just, he put me in the chair. And I don't know what I was thinking, but I got in there. And as I go into great detail in the book, it's a pretty hilarious story. It becomes so obvious to me that I'm not prepared before we even started. And all I've got is a prompter, and I've watched these highlights live in the moment. No preparation. I'd never done it before. And my mouth got so dry, I couldn't move my tongue. I mean, it was like I had been in the Sahara Desert for weeks on end. And the camera rolled, the highlights went. Within about 15 seconds, I was behind. My brain started panicking and freaking out. And I just kept going. And it was literally like watching someone hit themselves over and over in the head with a hammer. That's what it felt like to me. And I get done, and all these people are looking at me, and it was just the worst, most humiliating moment of my entire life. The guy said, well, let's roll it again. And I was worse the second time. And it was a complete and utter train wreck, the most humiliating moment in my life professionally. And yet, after that devastation, instead of quitting, I said, all right, I'm never going to make that mistake again. And I am not going to try to jump rungs on the ladder. I'm going to have to learn how to truly get the chops and get qualified. And that's a great frustration for so many people that call the Ken Coleman Show. Ken, I keep applying for stuff. They keep telling me I'm not qualified. And I want to laugh and go, because you're not. You're like me showing up thinking that you can do that, and you can't. So I needed to go do some other things. So I went and took a broadcasting school, a 6-week broadcasting school, to learn how to do that very thing.
And folks, I'll just interject here and say, so many of you, when you face adversity, the next thing you do is give up and say it's not possible. Yeah. I can't do this. And you quit on yourselves and on everyone important to you, because you're not going to be at your best for the rest of your life. That's unless right. You take this and take this hill and move further. So,
and here's the thing. Here's what I want people to understand. You have to embrace the suck. Okay. I mean, every one of us rode a bike, learned how to ride a bike, and it was scary. And we were awful at it at first, but we kept doing it. Why? Because we deeply wanted to be free, to ride the bike to our friend's house, to ride with our friends, to feel the wind in our face. And I want to point out that what kept me going is not that I'm this super resilient guy and I'm just more disciplined than the rest of the world. That's just not true. What kept me going is a deep burning hunger, my why. And that's what we teach. And so that's stage one, get clear. When you are absolutely clear on purposeful work for you and what you were created to do, you know what your mountaintop is, then you will not stop climbing, even when the storms of life come at you. You'll hunker down if you have to. And in that moment, I had to hunker down and I had to heal and lick my wounds, learn my lesson, but I kept climbing. And that's the key. I don't want people to hear that story and go, oh, you just got to be resilient. Well, that's a bunch of crap, because resilience and perseverance doesn't happen absent of passion, a deep abiding passion to reach something. It doesn't happen without the patience to stay in the game. And again, what drives the patience and the discipline? It's the passion, the desire. You know, the root word in the Latin for passion is pati, P-A-T-I, and it means to suffer. And the way it was used in the Latin early on, before passion became a romantic or anger context, was that it was a thirst that must be quenched. And that's beautiful. And so you're going to suffer on the path to the purposeful destination. It's just part of the deal. So you better embrace it. And I'm going to tell you right now, you better know that you know that you know that you know that you know you're supposed to do it. Or when those embarrassing moments happen, or tragic moments, or whatever comes your way, you will quit.
And I also want to interject that one of the advantages that you had was support at home. Because I get the idea from having read and listened to you for so long that your wife was a supportive person for you.
Oh, let me tell you something. I'm 47, been married 23 years. I got 3 teenagers. And my wife and I were talking about this last week, because she said something to me. She was encouraging. She said, I am so proud of how you get up and the way you do what you do, even when crazy stuff is swirling around us. And I said to her, purpose in my work keeps me grounded in my personal life, and then vice versa. And purpose in my personal life keeps me grounded in my work. And since you brought it up, I will tell you that purpose in your relationships is so important. I could not pour myself out the way I do every day, and my team will tell you the amount of energy that I pour out each day. That's not discipline. That's clear mission and purpose, but it's also that I've got a tremendous foundation, and my wife, Stacy, is my rock. I mean, she's my rock. And I got to tell you, a marriage decision is the most important decision you'll ever make. And if you have a dream and your spouse is not on board with it, it is unbelievably difficult. Not impossible, but unbelievably difficult. So those of you out there that are dating or engaged, it's time to start having these conversations, because you want somebody who's got their own dream, and both of you are in locked position, locked arms, and we're going to go do this together, because that's wind at your back.
You betcha. And it's great to have a teammate in this process. How old were the kids at that time?
Kids were 3, and the 2 littles are 7 months apart. We adopted our boys, and we brought boy number 2 home. Stacy was 7 weeks pregnant. We didn't know it. So we went from 1 kid to 3 kids in 9 months. I would not recommend that for anybody. That's pretty intense, but God had a story. He does have a story he's telling. And, but yeah, they were young. I mean, they were 3 under 3 and, 4 under 4 and 5, it was like, 3 under 4 and 3 under 5. And it was super intense. And so it did take a little longer to get here, but since you brought it up, I will say this. It's very important that you not get yourself caught up in someone else's timeline, or get yourself caught up in a timeline that's just simply unrealistic. And I did that some, but the reality is I had responsibilities, and be okay with the timeline, whatever the timeline is. In some ways, life dictates it to you, but that doesn't change your purpose.
Amen. I'm an adoptive parent as well. We did an international adoption from Kazakhstan not too long after 9/11.
Oh, great. Good for you. Well, we're in a special club.
Our kids give us so much gold as well. But back to helping others.
Yes.
Advice you give to people. Getting clear. Sometimes there's a difference between a dream, the fantasy, and the reality. How do you encourage people to test out the difference between the two?
Yeah, absolutely right. So there's in the book, we go into great detail in this chapter on, make sure it's the dream, not a mirage, essentially is the challenge in this chapter. And, I remember growing up watching Looney Tunes all the time. And I remember a specific cartoon where Daffy Duck, is in the desert, and his tongue is literally dragging along the sand, and he looks up and he sees a gorgeous tropical oasis in the middle of the desert, and he gets all excited. His little web feet turn into wheels, and he speeds up and he jumps up in the air, and he goes into this beautiful Olympic swan dive, and he thinks he's going to land in this water, and all of a sudden it turns into what we know, nothing but sand. The mirage goes away, and his beak lands in the sand. It's like, and he's miserable, right? That's what's going on. And so this is the idea that when we pursue something that is all pay, so we go, okay, I've offered an opportunity, or I see an opportunity, and it looks amazing because it's a promotion, it's a really awesome title, it's more pay, all of the things. It's a glitzy company with a big brand name and everybody respects it. These are the type of things we're talking about. And when we get enticed by that, and we take an opportunity like that, and we don't come back to what we teach in stage one, which is getting clear so that for the rest of your life, what your sweet spot is, what purposeful work looks like. And so if we don't sit there and go, no, wait a second, is this all those things being great? Is it an opportunity for me to be and stay in my sweet spot? Is it an opportunity for me to truly be in the dream job, which is where I am completely fulfilled by the fact that I'm really good at the job. I'm using my talent. I really, really love the work. I'm experiencing passion, and I really care deeply about the results of the work. I'm on mission for me. If we don't look at that, if we don't look at the timing, is this a move that's going to really hurt my family and cause a lot of strife there? Is this everything being equal? It is a dream job on paper, except for it's a really crappy culture, and they treat their people poorly, and it's a sweatshop or whatever. These are the things that we detail out in that chapter. I go into much more detail, but that's how we make sure that it's not a mirage. And so we've got to absolutely be clear that this is on purpose.
Amen. I'm someone who I planned on a career switch at 50. Mm-hmm. I couldn't do it at that time because I met my wife in graduate school, where I was trying to learn how to be a therapist in private practice. Mm-hmm. And in deferring it, I deferred it for 12 years. And then came to her to give her a 1-year notice that I was leaving my previous career in search to transition into coaching. I got myself qualified and wound up taking my previous experience in search, synthesizing it, and generally I help people find work. Now, for so many folks, I think in terms of where do they struggle? And I'm wondering, having you spoken with so many people over the course of doing this live, doing this on air, where you have so many people who can be critics of you at that time, and having watched you and listened to you, you handle it beautifully. Think of one person who stands out to you, and it's the one that just popped into your mind as that one person who had that special circumstance, and how you handled supporting them.
I think one that pops out to me, it was probably one of the early light bulb moments where I literally could hear the light bulb going off in somebody's head. It's so fascinating when you do live, and it's audio, and so I can't see them. And so you can hear and feel things. There's an intimacy there when you're not staring at somebody, right? We've all probably had the late night phone call with a boyfriend or girlfriend, right? You just kind of get super, super real. Well, that's kind of what happens in this moment sometimes. So the one that sticks out to me, and there's so many. Guy called, and he was in Charlotte, North Carolina. And he said, Ken, I'm stuck, and I just really need your help. I said, okay, what's up? He said, I used to be in movies and television. It's my training. I was very successful at it prior to getting married and having kids. So directing, producing. And he said, but we've ended up in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's where our family wants to be. And I'm not in that world anymore. And I know that I miss it so much. I long to do it. It's what I was created to do. But I can't move my family to LA or New York, and I'm just stuck. And I said, okay. I said, video is not going anywhere. In fact, it's now in small business. I mean, video, website videos, there's videos, commercials, local TV, there's video, video, video. It's not going anywhere. It's everywhere, right? He goes, absolutely. And I go, how many production companies would you say that do video, audio, all that stuff? I said, how many of those companies do you think exist in Charlotte, North Carolina? And he just started laughing. And he knew I had him. I trapped him very gently, but I just pushed him right in the corner. He said, oh, Ken, there's probably 20. I go, yeah, that's what I would have guessed. I said, there's probably more. I said, could you do for them the type of work you did before? It may not be network TV or movie studios type stuff, but it's the same kind of work that fires up your heart. He goes, oh, absolutely. I go, have you lost all of your ability? He goes, no, he's laughing again. I said, all right. I said, why don't you get connected? Why don't you use my proximity principle, which says in order to do what you want to do, you got to be around people that are doing it and get in places where that work is happening. I said, why don't you just show up? You're a stud. You're not a loser, druggie walking off the street. Why don't you just show up, introduce yourself and go, hey, I got a really great job, but I also got all this background. This is what I've done. And here's the deal. I'm just here to volunteer. I don't even need the money. If you guys need an extra hand, this is all my background. You need extra help on a set. I just want to get back into it. And so I'm just offering my services, just start doing that. And I said, watch opportunities come your way once they realize how good you are and how experienced you are. He goes, that's a good idea. I'm going to do it. I got an email from him 3 weeks later. He'd already had a job offer and he was going to move back into that space, make good money doing what he loved in Charlotte, North Carolina. So that's just one story. That's not like a big gut wrenching thing. I've had people cry on the air. I mean, I had a guy call one time, said, Ken, I'm trying to decide between being a programmer and going in technology because I'm in technology now and I'm really good at it. And I've gotten qualified and my company's offered me a great opportunity to move into a kind of a junior executive role in technology. And I see a great path, great money, great benefits, and I'm really good at technology. And I kind of like it. I said, well, what's this other thing? He said, child psychology. And when he dropped his voice, I knew something was there. I knew something was in his heart and I knew something was in his story. And so I just went right at it. And I just said, why child psychology? There's something in your story. And I think that's what you really want to do. And he couldn't talk. Dead silent. And then he began to weep, openly weep on the air. And he went on to say that he had gone through abuse as a child. And he detailed some of it, not in great detail. And I just let him cry and sob and get through it. When he got done, I said, I think you know your answer, don't you? And he's like, yes. I've been to chuckle. And I said, out of your tremendous pain has been born a great passion. And so you want to help kids that have gone through what you've gone through because you come out on the other side. Wounded, yes, but healing, stronger than ever before. And you want to do that for other kids. He's like, yes. So those are two that, that stick out to me. And I think what I want people to see in those two stories is that this is all about the heart. It's all about the heart. Purpose, meaning in your work is not about status.
Not about what?
It's not about status. It's about heart. Your greatness is in your uniqueness. There's so much crap out in this world that I'm in and all this stuff on social media, guys and gals standing by a private jet and they're selling this as great success. And I got to tell you something. If you go make a bunch of money and you got the private jet, you got all the things, but you're not doing work you love that produces a result that matters to you, I got news for you. That's not going to matter. Greatness is not stuff. Greatness is not stats. Greatness is significance. When I fulfill my significant role, whether I am a school teacher or I am a mailman or I am a janitor or I am a mechanic or I am a CEO, or I am an accountant, I am a counselor. Greatness is in filling our unique role, because in our unique role, we are doing what we are created to do. And by definition, we will be great at it, and we will make a great impact.
Wonderful gift you just gave everyone. Ken, any last words you want to leave people?
Uh, I'll leave you with the words I open up the Ken Coleman Show with every day. You were created to fill a unique role. You are needed. You must do it. I don't think we have the option to mail it in and live a life of average. I think we are created to contribute. So please figure out what it is. The book will help you. Get it, dive into it, believe what comes out of it, and go do something. Do something great.
And don't believe the lies that you tell yourself about
Oh,
why you can't do it.
oh, that's a whole nother episode. Yeah, I mean,
You know,
uh, retreat to clarity. For the voices of fear, doubt, and pride, come on back to clarity. And again, we in the book we break down exactly what the fear and doubt voices are. We tell you how to deal with them. So we've created a handbook for you to go be you.
folks, his website, kencoleman.com, has a quiz there to help you with clarity. It can be a launch point in this process that'll help you simplify things. Ken, thank you. I hope you enjoyed my interview with Ken. Again, his new book is From Paycheck to Purpose. I'll have a link to it in the show notes. And as you know, I too have some great advice at my website, which is thebiggamehunter.us. Go to the site and go exploring. There's just a lot there to help you in the blog. You can also schedule time for a free discovery call or schedule time for coaching. You can find out information about my courses and purchase them at the website. Also, connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/The Big Game Hunter. Mention that you saw the interview with Ken. I like knowing I'm helping some folks. And once we're connected, your network is going to grow a lot. Also want to mention, if this isn't the time for you to visit my website, put the address in your phone. Again, that's thebiggamehunter.us. You can circle back to it when you need it in the future. Hope you have a terrific day, and most importantly, be great. Take care.